Hello, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that likes Iron Man and Hulk and Captain America and Thor, all well and good, but how many times have you seen one of them review a board game? I mean, how super could they be, right? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 10 favorite civilization building games of all time. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, my top 10 civilization building games of all time. Just going to jump right into it with my honorable mentions. First of all, Tiny Epic Kingdoms from Gamelin Games is a fantastic little mini game about building civilizations. Check that one out if you get a chance. And also, I don't know if it's in print anymore, but Rise of Empires by, it was Mayfair. I think Phalanx did it originally, and then it was Mayfair. I don't know if it's out there right now. But that was a pretty cool little Euro game where you'd have to take actions, and then you'd have to take actions in reverse order, and that was pretty fun and as well. Really like that one. But let's get into the list. Number 10 is from Eagle-Gryphon Games. It is Clockwork Wars. Clockwork Wars is a fun steampunk adventure where you've got crazy like chimpanzee people and dog people and rhinoceros people. It's really good. You had all these sorts of people except people. But it was really a lot of fun. You know, you had like science research, but you also had sorcery. The board almost kind of looked like a Catan board, but you were kind of moving these discs, around. You had these discs around it, and then you also had minis that came in it that you would use. You use these big minis that would represent kind of super weapons. But it was a really good and fun, and it was a unique, I think, spin on the civilization building game, but it still had a big epic feel to it. So I really enjoyed that. That is number 10, Clockwork Wars from Eagle-Gryphon Games. My number 9 was a game that took place in the Mediterranean Empire. Was a pretty good, solid civilization building game from Academy Games. This is Mare Nostrum's Empires. Mare Nostrum's Empires was you were all around the Mediterranean, and of course you were building buildings, you're building temples. You have military units. You're trying to dominate the regions you're at. It was a very good and fun game. You were also trying to build wonders and other goodies. There are different avenues to victory. You could pursue different paths to get victory points, and that one was a lot of fun as well. I actually just played that maybe a year or so ago for the first time and really got a kick out of it. That's Mare Nostrum's Empires, number 9 from Academy Games. My number 8 was a game I played several years ago. Really enjoyed it. It was a little more fiddly than I would have liked. Otherwise, it might have been higher on the list. And I only played the base game. I heard the expansion just blows it out of the water, makes it a much better game, but I never played with the expansion, and I always wanted to. This is Clash of Cultures from Z-Man Games. Now, this is great. You had, of course, there's kind of a fog of exploration here, the kind of the 4X idea here of trying to flip over tiles, and then you kind of reveal the landscape, and that was a pretty cool system as well. But you also had kind of these big charts where you put cubes next to certain kind of civics or technologies or whatever that you had that would kind of contribute to your civilization. Of course, you had some combat. You would have barbarians that would come up you'd have to fight. But it was just a very good and fun civilization building game, and it was about the right length. Not too long, not too short, but I really enjoyed it. I only played it a couple of times. I'd like to hit it again sometime with that expansion. But that is Clash of Cultures from Z-Man Games. My number 7 is a game I just played recently that I really enjoyed. Now, I've only played this game the one time. I do want to play it some more, and I only played it with 6 players, which made it a very long game. So you want to make sure going into it, it's going to be very long or play at a lower player count. But this is Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea from GMT Games. This is a game that is a whole lot of fun because it's so mean. You're playing these cards against each other that are taking your discs away or adding barbarian discs or moving discs around, but you're kind of setting up your strategy, and the people are playing these cards, and you kind of don't know what's going to happen and who's going to play one on whom. And it's a very mean game, but it's a game you're laughing at throughout the card phase there because you're going back and forth trying to kind of screw each other over. But there's not so much randomness that it actually completely mitigates the strategy, and there's a lot more going on here. Again, you're building wonders. The way the discs work, they're both your units on the board, but they are also currency you can spend. The cards you have are resources. They're also a currency. It's all around. It's just a very good and very fun and I think a somewhat innovative game. I really enjoyed it. That is Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea by GMT Games, and that is my number 7. My number 6 is another one from, was recently released by Z-Man Games. It has been around for a while in various guises. It's gone through reprints and changes and rebootings and what have you. But this is History of the World. History of the World's great because you don't just play one civilization. You kind of build up a civilization, and then that one kind of goes into a decline kind of a thing, and then you build up another civilization as well. And it's really fun kind of watching the empires rise and fall throughout the course of history. And each civilization that comes up has its own unique kind of powers and what have you. Very fun game, very good, solid civilization building game. A little bit different than other civilization building games, but I really like the way it portrays kind of the history of the rise and fall of empires, and it's just a lot of fun to play. That is History of the World from Z-Man Games, and that is my number 6. My number 5 is a game that came out, I want to say it was last year, or maybe it's the year before, but it is Civilization: A New Dawn from Fantasy Flight Games. Civilization: A New Dawn is kind of a streamlining of their previous Sid Meier Civilization board games, which were a little fiddly, a little bulky, and this one's pretty smooth. Now, I'll tell you right now, the combat in it, the military aspect of it, is okay. I'm not wild about it. I don't hate it, like I've heard some people say, but it's not the best. I think it could be improved upon, and I do hope they come out with expansions for it at some point. But the base game is very cool. It's got this card system where as soon as you play a card, you put it back to the first place and the other cards slide up. But where the cards are along that track determines how powerful they are. So you can play, a card you need here, but it's not very powerful, or you can play a card here that is very powerful. And the way you do that, and you rotate through the cards, is very cool. Again, innovative system there. I really liked it, and I'm a sucker for that kind of 4X expansion idea of a game like this. So Sid Meier's Civilization: A New Dawn, amazing game. That, of course, is my number 5 from Fantasy Flight Games. My number 4 is, it kind of straddles the line, I think, between war game and civilization building game because it scratches both itches. It does, I think, both things very, very well. This is Space Empires 4X from GMT Games. Space Empires 4X from GMT Games is a great, grand, epic space adventure. It's a space empire building game, but it also fundamentally is a war game because you've got all these different fleets, and you got to push, you've got to be aggressive in this game. I played it at all player counts, plays 1 to 4, played it with all player counts. I think my favorite is the 2-player game. I think it works best as a 2-player game. It's still fun with other player counts, but it works best as a 2-player game. But I love that you are building infrastructure, you're building resources, you're colonizing planets, you're studying tech, you're upgrading your ships. I just really get a kick out of this game. It's a very fun game. That's Space Empires 4X. That is my number 4 from GMT Games. My number 3 is another science fiction game. This is a game that it's a very economic game. It's almost a Euro game in space with a veneer of kind of a Ameritrash game. But this is Eclipse. Now, this is Eclipse. The first edition I've actually kickstarted. The second edition, still waiting on it. But Eclipse is a great game. Like I say, it's an economic game. It was billed as kind of a TI-4 killer, which it wasn't, but it is a very fun game. You're exploring the galaxy. You are, of course, investing in these resources. You've got all these cubes that are on your player aid. You take the cubes, you put the cubes on or take them off, and it's going to reveal different things that become open to you as you reveal those cube slots. And so you gain more abilities, you get stronger as the game goes on, as you, of course, are manipulating those cubes. It's a very fun game. It's got space combat in it, which is fun. You can upgrade ships and stuff like that, so there is kind of that Ameritrashy element there. There is some direct conflict with dice, which is a lot of fun, but it still feels like it's a very much an economic development game, and I really like Eclipse quite a bit. Haven't played it in a while, and I probably won't play the first edition again. I'm waiting for the second edition to come out, but it's a fantastic game. That is Eclipse. That is my number 3, and that's from... My number 2 game, another science fiction game, and this one surprised me because it's an IP game, but it surprised me just how much I liked it the first time I played it, and how much I think I would have liked it even without the IP. I think it's that good and solid a game. It's that good and solid a civilization building game. This is Star Trek Ascendancy from Gale Force 9. Star Trek Ascendancy is a brilliant game. It is so much fun. You're either the base game, you're either the Federation, the Klingons, or the Romulans, and there are a lot of different expansion packs where you can play like the Ferengi and the Vulcans and Cardassians, what have you. I haven't played with any of the expansion packs. I'd like to at some point. But essentially, you have your home system, you're building fleets and sending fleets out, you're colonizing new planets, you are building star bases, which can build new ships. You are, of course, researching new things. Every time you go to a new place, you are experiencing kind of things that happen from the Star Trek TV show or movies. It's really interesting. It's really well done. And again, it surprised me how much I liked it, even how much I'd like it even without the IP. Star Trek Ascendancy is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. That is my number 2 game from Gale Force 9. And my number 1 civilization building game of all time is, no surprise, my favorite game of all time, and this is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. Twilight Imperium 4th Edition is the ultimate science fiction civilization building game, in my opinion. It is the ultimate science fiction civilization building game because it's got it all. You've got, of course, a war game aspect to it with dice rolling. You have got the tech tree. You have got trade. You have got politics and diplomacy. You've got manufacturing. You've got all these things that come together that create just this brilliant experience. Again, this is a long game. This is, you play with 6 players. This game can go several hours. We did a live stream of this game, I think in January, and it was about a 6-hour game, which is about average, but it can go longer. It can go 8 hours plus. So I was happy that it was only about 6 hours, but it's so much fun, and there's an aspect of role-playing here as you're the different races, the different alien races that can have different variable player powers and different things going on. It's so much fun. I love TI4 for so many reasons, and if you don't like TI4, there is something wrong with you. You need help. Really, I love Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. I'm so upset they have not yet come out with expansions for it, particularly the Distant Sun expansion, which was, to me, the only way to play TI3. I sincerely hope they come out with the Distant Suns for TI4, as well as some other expansion goodies for that game. It needs it. I love that game so much. I want to see them run with it. Andrew Navarro recently had a live streaming through where they asked him about TI4. He said it sold very well, and they asked him if there's going to be expansions, and he was kind of ho-hum on it, which makes me think maybe there will be. He had talked, I think, about like Eldritch Horror and some other games, and he says they're dead, they're not going to produce any more content for him, and he didn't say that about TI4, so I'm hopeful there's stuff in the works for TI4. I really, really hope so. I love TI4 so very much. It's such a fantastic game, and I love it. So that is my number 1 civilization building game of all time. That is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition from Fantasy Flight Games. Well, thank you once again for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you like my list. Please feel free to comment here in the YouTube comments or on our website or on Facebook or Twitter, wherever you see this video. Please comment. Let me know, do you like my picks? Do you not like them? Why do you like them? Why don't you like them? Let me know. I'm always eager to engage with people over what their favorites are, hear what their favorites are as well. So please, as I say, leave me a comment. Also, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and all of that good jazz. And we are The Discriminating Gamer, and I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I really would like to take this opportunity to say to Marvel Comic Books, it's time you come up with a board game review superhero, a board game reviewing superhero. I think the world's ready for its first board game reviewing superhero. And maybe his secret identity could be a PhD history student. It's me. Would you make me a comic book character? Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight, but I don't ever win. It's a fine line to damnation, but God let me in.
Ha! Cody, you fool! While you were giving your recommendation, I grabbed the last parachute!
We're in a building on the first floor, and that's a backpack.
If you like this review, like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube, The Discriminating Gamer. I'll see you in hell, Cody.